Hello everyone, Tactical Lich here, and today we have a really spicy battle replay to showcase. I picked up the replay file on the Nightcrow clan Discord, where Lamsauce King on the left as the Empire here is fighting the Vampire Coast played by Anti-Kaiju. The army build of the Empire is absolutely insane, with no frontline at all, just a ton of huntsmen providing a bunch of anti-large firepower, and then backed up by a bunch of mobility. Empire Knights, one of the Knights of Blazing Sun, and more Empire Knights on the other side. Also a single unit of Outriders with grenade launchers, and also a single Luminarch of Heesh. Leading the army would be a Bright Wizard supporting Marcus Wolfheart. So no melee infantry at all, just trying to use the skirmishing firepower to work down the Vampire Coast missile and using the mobility to disrupt the Vampire Coast box. Now, for the Vampire Coast army, a very typical formation: a front line of deckhand mobs with pole arms, a second line of pirate gunnery mob. These guys are the pistol ones, so not the longest range, but does have a relatively cheap cost. The handguns are at the back, using their longer range and armor-piercing firepower to work down enemy units, and of course in terms of long range, there are some even longer range firepower, carronades, and also the Shade Wraith gunners. There's also a single unit of mortar at the back to wreck enemy archers, and they'll be guarded by a ton of animated hulks, 4 of them in fact providing some mass and armor piercing. Leading the army would be Count Noctilus himself on his pirate ship Mecha, so providing a bit of a long range firepower. Melkoff's Mystifying Miasma to work down enemy cavalry, Invocation of Nahek for healing. Of course, he has his Moon Dial for the zombie summons, and the Wraith Storm to snipe out single entities. That's it for the army builds. Now let's get the battle rolling. As a meme build enjoyer, I do love seeing this kind of unconventional tactics with all these missile troops, though unfortunately they do not have the range advantage here, with the Vampire artillery contingent lighting up the visible units of all these Empire troops. Marcus Wolfheart is getting absolutely smashed by these Shade Wraith gunners, though the Huntsmen, because they were stalking earlier, they were not targetable by the Vampire army. Now they started shooting, and they will remove that stalking status from themselves, allowing the zombie pirate pistol mobs, the Shade Wraith gunners, carronades, and the mortars to switch their marks onto the Huntsmen. Of course, some of these carronades do have a priority target, and that is the Luminarch of Heesh, which is trying to snipe out Count Noctilus. The Empire Cavalry are also moving up, trying to disrupt perhaps some of these Vampire missile troops and crack open that Vampire box. The Huntsmen are opening up onto the pistol mobs, using the sheer volume of arrow fire to really whittle down these rather fragile Vampire missile troops. One of the pistol mobs down to half health, Shade Wraith Gunner also down to half health, but a combination of firepower from the vampires was able to work down 2 units of Huntsmen down to half health on both units, and they'll be routed, especially being discouraged by the Shade Wraith Gunner's explosive missiles. A little bit of burning head here, roasting some of these pistol mobs and hitting another unit of pistol mob as well. Very nice RNG right there. Even if the Vampire player tried to dodge, the spell still curved into their units and killed a bunch of their infantry. Empire Knights moving towards the flanks and might be running into some of these polearm mobs. Not exactly where they want to be, definitely taking way more anti-large and armor-piercing damage than they would expect, while the other units of Empire Knights are moving around the back line here, trying to tease the animated hulks and drag them out of position. The Huntsmen are still shooting. One of the Knights of Blazing Sun was fighting some of these zombie deckhand mobs. I assume that's a summoned unit. However, they also got tied down and allowed Count Noctilus to really work them down, taking significant damage throughout the process. Count Noctilus down to 2/3 of his HP, taking some damage from the Luminarch, which has been eliminated by the carronades. Another fireball chipping away his HP, but he cannot heal in melee right now because there are no melee units around. The hunger only activates in melee, so yeah, he's just not healing with any passive abilities. At the back line, because some of these animated hulks moved up to deal with the Empire Knights in the front line, the backline of the Vampires got a bit of a big gap, allowing 2 Empire Knights to sneak through and shut down the Mortar crew. Mortar, definitely the bane of archers, have been doing quite some work, 63 kills already against the rather expensive Huntsman units. Shutting down the mortars will give the Huntsman a safer environment to output more damage, as Carronades and Necrophax Colossus has less of a threat against these missile infantry with a loose formation. Now even the Knights of the Blazing Sun are slipping through the Vampire defenses, shutting down the final conventional artillery unit for the Vampires, leaving only the Necrophax Colossus. The Huntsmen and grenade launchers are now activated once more, actually especially the grenade launchers, who have been hidden behind the tree line throughout the entire game until now. Moved up, deleted some zombie pirate infantry, and will be moving back out of the range of any kind of missile units from the Vampires other than Count Noctilus himself. It's inefficient for the Huntsmen to shoot at the Vampire infantry, but if the grenade launchers can clear out the Vampire infantry support, the Huntsmen can then shoot up the monsters. The Huntsman continues to fire, trying to use up their ammo as much as possible before they themselves get killed by the long-range firepower of Count Noctilus. Noctilus moving back a bit, perhaps trying to shut down these Empire Knights with a bit of firepower. The Vampire handgun mobs are trying to fire back and trade against the Huntsman, but that is a horrible trade for a gunpowder unit. It will never win against arrow fire. Especially when focused by 2 units of Huntsmen, that Vampire handgun mob is gone. Now there are some Vampire infantry moving forward trying to push the Huntsmen, but they're countered by Hunter's Snare. Wait, what the hell? Marcus Snare just shifted from one area to another. Now somehow the Hunter's Snare accidentally caught these animated hulks, pinning them from moving around. And somehow there's still some residual netting effect, only visually though, on the Vampire units. Anyways, we can probably look at this in a separate video. Now let's get back to the battle itself. On the Empire's left flank, they managed to run down some Vampire infantry as the Empire Knights smashed into their rear, while the Huntsmen formed a firing arc and shot up these pursuing zombies. This is the risk of pushing against a kiting army where your troops can get isolated and picked off by your enemy's mobility and missiles. The animated hulks have no choice but to push up right now, because if they stand there and take all the damage, they might just get worked down from afar by all these Empire troops. Instead, perhaps it is better to just push up the troops and start killing enemy missile contingents. For example, these Huntsmen are taking losses, losing DPS as the animated hulks are killing off their models. Although that does allow some of these Huntsmen from the other areas to start moving over and crossfire into the fray, into the distracted and occupied animated hulks. These animated hulks have been pinned down for a bit by the Empire Knights, and allowing these Huntsmen to start unloading into these poor Vampire monster. Another fireball from the Firecaster going after Count Noctilus. Let's see how much damage it can do. Not much, but well, damage is damage after all. Animated hulks now freed up from fighting the Empire Knights are now moving in, trying to pressure off the Huntsmen, while the Huntsmen, being an infantry, cannot outrun these Vampire monsters. But a very, very nice combo of Empire Knights charging in and the Hunter's Snare from Marcus Wolfheart, slowing down the advance of the animated hulks, buying the crucial time for all these Huntsmen to turn around and start unloading into these pursuing Vampire monsters. On the other side there, the animated hulks over the other flank are pushing back some Huntsmen, but these animated hulks are absolutely deleted by the anti-large fire from the Huntsmen, especially with the point-blank shots. Count Noctilus have no choice but just to slowly fire from afar, chipping away the health of Marcus Wolfheart. Perhaps a better target would be the Outriders, because the Necrophax Colossus artillery is not exactly the greatest anti-infantry foot character missile. It is a multi-shot missile, plus it scatters, relying on the penetration to do damage, so against a foot character it just doesn't do that much. Perhaps a better use of the Necrophax artillery is just to shoot at the Empire cavalry and infantry. In contrast, Wraith Storm, this tracking ability is way better at shutting down foot characters. Should be able to rout off Marcus Wolfheart. Not sure if Count Noctilus can kill him with his remaining missiles though. He is still firing, but the damage efficiency on this expensive artillery piece is not that great, honestly. Another shot hits Marcus, but he still has 70 HP left. Now Count Noctilus decided to switch targets and start aiming at the grenade launchers. The problem is that he's not getting any shots out, as he is constantly staggered by the incoming Empire missile fire. It kind of reminds me of Elden Ring, where the boss has a poise stat, and if you do enough damage to it, well, the boss gets staggered and whatever action he's taking got interrupted. Just like here with Count Noctilus and his Necrophax Colossus. He's constantly trying to take aim at his target, but every time he does that, he just gets interrupted by the staggering effect. While the huntsmen are all firing, unloading everything into Count Noctilus, he tries to switch target yet again, but this time Empire Knights are here trying to drag him into a melee fight and stopping him from shooting. Noctilus will have to deal with them first, smacking a few Empire Knights in melee, but then Noctilus himself is getting quite low. He's not getting any passive heals because the hunger only activates in melee and he is forced to use an invocation instead. A minute ago, the balance of power is still significantly in favor of the Vampirates, but right now, Count Noctilus is not feeling so hot, as all these anti-large firepower really taking a toll on his remaining health. He is moving into combat though, against some huntsmen who have ran out of ammo. They are sacrificing their lives to buy more time for their brothers to keep unloading, keep shooting at Count Noctilus, working down his HP. Empire Knights have regrouped, they are charging in once more, bravely at this Necrophax Colossus, this undead construct, sacrificing their lives as well. This might just be what the Empire need right now. As Count Noctilus is getting lower and lower, he is trying to move into combat against the huntsmen, but his leadership is giving out, balance of power shifts into army losses, and that shall be the victory for Marcus and his huntsmen. GG to both Lamsauce King and Anti-Kaiju, and big thanks to Lamsauce King for sharing this on the Night Crew Discord. Now you might have noticed that the mouse position was a bit off in the battle replay. That's because I changed some settings on the laptop and it messed with the display a bit, but it should be fixed in the next video. Now for the army performances, the Huntsman definitely the MVP of this game, earning back a ridiculous amount of value. These guys almost 4 times their cost. 2 chevrons, 1 chevron on these guys, and then this one also earned back 1 chevron. This one got routed early, I assume, so not exactly the most damage output, but overall, the Huntsman's devastating firepower, the consistent anti-large volleys of arrow fire managed to whittle down the animated hulks, shot up the guns, and also, of course, whittled down Count Noctilus and his Necrophax Colossus in the late game, cutting through all that healing. For the rest of the Empire army, the cavalry didn't do much damage, but most importantly, they were able to disrupt the Vampirate box, getting into the backline and shut down those artillery, giving Huntsmen the safety to sit back and shoot from afar. The grenade launchers did some pretty good work here, clear out swaths of zombie, didn't get the most damage output, but still earning back their own cost simply by shooting at zombies. The Bright Wizard did some pretty good work with the Burning Head, and Marcus Wolfhard unfortunately didn't get the most value despite using up almost all his ammo. The Luminarch of Heesh got sniped out early by the Carronade, so not much to say about it, while the Vampire Coast Shade Wraith Gunners had a lot of potential to wreck those archers, but simply due to the sheer volume of the Empire missile infantry, the Shade Wraith Gunners were not able to outshoot the Empire missiles. Carronades, one of them got some pretty good value, I assume, from sniping out the Luminarch, but the other not so much, while the Mortars got some pretty good kills on the Huntsmen, but got shut down early by the Empire Cavalry. While the rest of the army here, the 2 handgun mobs did some pretty decent damage, while the animated hulks, because of their lack of armor, they are like the prime target for the Huntsmen to shoot at, especially the anti-large will be devastating to these Vampirate monsters. The infantry didn't get much damage as they tried to push enemy missiles, but in the end, they just got run down by the Empire and cross-fired by the archers. The pistol mobs got outranged heavily by the Huntsmen, so they can't actually get a good trade in the missile game. Count Noctilus did some okay damage, but unfortunately was not able to carry the game as most of his HP were just shot up by the Huntsmen in the end, despite having that advantage in balance of power. That's basically it for today's battle, and I hope you all enjoyed the multiplayer action. And if you want to see more Total War Warhammer content, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.